Recording in progress.
Welcome to the September 7th meeting of the Goshen Common Council. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk treasurer please call the roll?
Councilor Eichhorn.
Here.
Councilor King.
Here.
Councilor Jim McKee.
Here.
Councilor Nisley.
Here.
Councilor Pettis. Councilor Schrock.
Here.
Council President Cuerda.
Here.
Youth Advisor Mora.
Here. Thank you. And Councilman Perez did just text me a few minutes ago that he had a family emergency he needed to attend to, so he won't be making the meeting this evening. I just apologize for that. That brings us to approval of our minutes, and in front of the council tonight we have August 17th. What's the council's pleasure?
I move to accept them. Yeah. Sorry.
Motion by King and second by McKee. Are there any comments? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes from August 17th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And those are passed. Thank you. That brings us to approval of our agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening? If not, is there a motion to approve as submitted?
I move to approve it as submitted. Second.
Motion by Acorn and second by King. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And our agenda is approved. Thank you. That brings us to the privilege of the floor. Does council have anything they want to do? Been setting time limits in the past, so just checking in with you before we start.
Yeah, I would,
Go ahead, Doug.
I would like to put a time limit. We went a half hour last time, and I think we could go 15 minutes at this time, and then revisit. We still give them 3 minutes each. But at this time, I think we could just do a 15-minute presentation, and then look at it after that, if we need to go longer.
So Councilman Nisley has made a motion to
I'd
go
second that.
15 minutes, and then you'll revisit to see if you're going to go longer. And the second is by Icorn. Any other discussion on this from council members? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Who is going to keep track of the 15 minutes, and who's going to keep track of the time for the?
I'll do both.
Okay, thank you, Council President.
And then as a reminder, as long as the volume's turned up, which we'll figure out here in the first speaker, there'll be a little buzz that'll go off at 3 minutes. So we just ask that you wrap up your commentary at that point. So, Clerk Treasurer Aguirre, do you have a piece of paper you want them to sign again?
Yes, it's at the podium.
It's at the podium, okay.
Please print your name and your city.
So again, just as a reminder, please print your name and the city that you live in so that we can have that for the official record. And then also, even though you're signing your name there, if you could then also publicly state your name for the rest of us here at council so that we know who you are. We'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Glenn, saw your hand first.
Glenn Law, Goshen. Just a second, before you start the time, I'm printing.
Yeah, and just that's a point too, just so everyone knows, you get up here, I'm gonna give you a moment to write and get it all collected, and I'm not gonna start the time until you kind of introduced yourself, so.
Well, I wanted to be first because I'm gonna give you a little sugar and then comes the medicine. Today I was at the county commissioners meeting, and I will say this. Thank God you guys don't act like they do. It was an ugly meeting. There was no respect for each other, let alone the taxpayers. So I want to thank you guys for being civil to each other. What you do behind closed doors, that's your business, not open to the public. I do want to thank you for being civil. There was no civility at the commissioners meeting today. And that's the problem we have with government. I thought I was in DC there for a couple of seconds. Anyways, and that's between same parties now, that's, you know. So, here comes the mess. I've emailed some of you guys about the county approaching the city about replacing sidewalks on the south side of the courthouse. They did send a picture that showed where the property line was. I even looked up mine. You know, my sidewalk, the one in front of my house that I paid $800 plus interest with no halvesy, isn't on my property. It's in the city. So do I get to go to the Board of Works and ask for my money back with interest? Because it's not on my property. I reminded the county today that if somebody falls on that sidewalk, they sue us, as in the taxpayer. If they fall on the sidewalk in front of my house, they sue me. So is it my property or is it not my property? The bottom line is the citizens of Goshen, the taxpayers in Goshen will have to pay 60% of that sidewalk, 50%, and then you lump all of us back into the big picture and you divide the 50% up again across the county. I used some simple numbers that I don't think they understood, but it comes down to it's not a business. They provide service that they have to provide by law. A business can go, I ain't doing that, and walk away. Government does not do business. What they do is provide a service that by law they have to do. So as a taxpayer of this community, we need to tell the county, pony up and do it. We've already done two sides of it, Maine and whatever that little, where judges used to park. We've done that. What's new? Are we gonna do it all the way around? Only if they give us that building, which I don't think will happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa.
Hi, my name is Teresa Saylor, and I work for the city. And I wanted to point out that our Department of Environmental Resilience gave you each a card, and there's some in the back of the room that talk about some zero waste workshops that are coming up, and it is a partnership between the city and the library. And there'll be 7 workshops. There's only 3 on there. There'll be about 1 a month, a little bit longer around Christmas. And we'll be working on different topics to how to use less plastic, how to make purchases where you're not having to have as many plastic bags, especially when food is concerned. And we're highlighting authors for each of those, with the exception maybe recycling. That one's probably locally done. But 2 of the authors that are on there, they're both national, international, I should say. I have 2 of their books here. And they're pretty incredible reads. So we just wanted to get that out so you can see that that's happening. And the toilet paper is just a gift as a reminder. And it is zero waste because it's not wrapped in plastic. And it is recycled, but in a good way. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Reader.
Thank you. Good evening, Rob Rader, 908 South 10th Street, Goshen. Well, finally, in exasperation I hear, what do you want us to do? Finally. Well, let me start off briefly with some things that went wrong with regard to that youth drag show. First of all, Mr. Mayor, you were kind enough to talk with me. I called all my Republican friends on Friday night, and they all, in one way or another, had responded, and you contacted me on Monday, but I didn't feel like you took me seriously. I felt like you were arguing semantics that a youth drag show equaled a cheerleading contest, and I didn't appreciate that. A friend of mine recently called you a man of your, I am, you said, a man of your word, and so I I felt like, well, let me say, when we talked on Monday, you didn't really say that you didn't know about the Pride Week, which makes me mad, because the other ones that I talked to, they didn't know anything about it, but you didn't seem to tell me that you didn't know anything about it. Something that we can do then. Why not treat the Pride Week like any other event that's being held, and let's bring it before the council instead of having it be unknown, arguably, except by I am, Mr. Mayor. We talked on Monday, and then the news reports that the document to reserve the shelter was signed about next Wednesday. So somebody knew, and somebody was keeping it hush-hush, and it disturbs me. I'm mad about the Pride Week, but I'm outraged by that youth drag show. Why do we keep bringing it up? Because it's outrageous. Every Democrat that I know is for LGBTQ, is for abortions, is for transgender, especially with regard to youth. So something that could have happened would be a little separation. At least I'm not a Democrat that supports these things. I didn't get that. But Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, I accuse you. You're the most culpable of hand-sitting than any accusation that I've made in the past. So I remember when the KKK came to town, we organized some family event out there at Shanklin Park. That was a positive step. Perhaps we could do something similar. I remember floating a baby resolution. One of our councilmen had just had a baby, and everybody was so happy about it. I thought, what a unique way to bring together a community. Former Councilman Scharf and I talked about it in quite demeaning terms, I felt. That's neither here nor there. But I had that worked out with Councilman Allersmeyer before the leader of Antifa ran him out of town. Antifa, I've got 2 uncles and a nephew, all police officers. I have the greatest respect, I hope. Is that really 3 minutes? I have much more to say. Antifa is here, and I'm sorry that came out, that the police said that it wasn't when we had somebody who talked about being assaulted by Antifa. Please contact me.
Does anybody else wish to speak? Yes, sir.
Slavewall from Goshen. Thank you, first of all, for all your service to the community. However, I am still concerned about the poison that is being put into our drinking water. I'm not sure, is it dihydrochlorosillic acid or something like that? So we're putting poison acid into our water without the consent of Goshen residents, because some 10 years ago or so, when we weren't doing that, the dental community decided that they were the experts and they knew what was best for everyone. Now, they might know what's best for our teeth, but they don't know what's best for the neurological system. Probably not. So now the studies are coming out on the neurological system. What are we going to do about it? Okay, so I see it as arrogance for one person. To me, it's not a thing of weighing the health benefits against the risks, or health benefits against the health benefits. This is an ethical matter. This is when one person is making a decision what gets put into another person's body. That's not a decision that you get to make. You have authority in this community to do things, but that is one of the things that you do not have authority to do. And so I would encourage you to do the humble thing, do the right thing, inform the people. As I understand it, this stuff is kind of expensive. Use that money, inform the people, whatever you think is best. Give them all the information. Let all the experts weigh in, and let the people make their own decisions. Those that want to put fluoride in their water can put it in. And the rest of us won't be forced to take something that we think might be harmful to our bodies. Seems like the right thing to do. So again, I want to make it real clear. It's not just let's get this expert and see what he has to say, and then let's, none of us have medical degrees or whatever, so we're going to try to make a decision on what we're going to do then. No. Let the individual talk to his doctor, talk to his dentist, do what's best for his family, his infant, his adult, 200 pounds. We're different people, different sizes, shapes. We don't want somebody just mass medicating us with a one size fits all dosage. So just want to encourage you to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Where are we at on time, Council President?
5 more minutes.
Okay. On board? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Linda Hartman, and I live here in Goshen. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for asking the question at the last meeting, what do you want us to do? First, I want us to protect our kids, everyone under 18. No more events intended on recruiting kids, no youth drag shows, no anything to expect kids to grow up faster. I heard today there's a satanic temple coming to Goshen in February, and I want to talk with you, Mr. Mayor, about that further. Just as I wouldn't have had a 6-year-old a 50-pound weight to carry, I wouldn't give an adult a sexually charged issue to a minor to figure it out. They're just not capable of it, and it confuses them. I want us to protect our innocence. Our city parks are meant to celebrate family, and let's make this a win-win for everybody, and I think it can be. Secondly, I want the council to represent all the people. You can't lift up a group over here and affirm them and give them a plaque for them because you feel that they're marginalized. When did your feelings become part of running a city government? When you're lifting up one group, you're splitting the rest of us. Get out of the social justice business. You should have enough on your plate to run the police, fire department, and manage the issues of the city. Ma'am, this still is hate speech to me. I'm sorry, I can't say, I don't dislike you, it's just hate speech to me. So you gotta make a choice if you're gonna be a social justice warrior or a councilwoman, because you've gotta represent all of us. Third, Mr. Mayor, I've got a lot of suggestions on some things I think we can do to make this less volatile when we come here. And I don't have time to talk about it tonight, but if I could email you, I would greatly appreciate that.
My email is always open and it's on the website if you need it.
Perfect, I'd love to have a conversation about that. Mr. Jim. Mr. Jim has been a jewel to the city. And he is also my neighbor, or was my neighbor till about a week and a half ago. And I appreciate his ability to look at a problem from all sides of the Rubik's Cube. And many nights, Jim, you were the first person in Goshen, I think, that got COVID. And many nights when I can't sleep, I'll go to my kitchen window to do something, I look out and I see your windows. And I pray for you. And I prayed for you ever since that, and now with your new diagnosis, I pray for you more. I don't think the city realizes what a jewel we have in Jim. So I appreciate it. Thanks.
Anybody else wish to speak?
First of all, my name is Jep, J-E-P, not Jeff. Is it short for anything? Yeah, it's short for Jep. And my last name is Hosteller. I live at Greencroft, and I'm old. I'm 82 years old. I appreciate all voices, I really do, and I understand that. There are other ways to look at things, however, as opposed to one view. I'm a grandfather. I have 7 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. And when they go to preschool or school, I am delighted, totally delighted, if they're required to wear masks, because it protects them, and I don't want my little ones getting sick. If you look at it from a Christian perspective, and some of us in this room are Christians, I understand this group as well, Christ told us to love our neighbors as ourselves. And Paul tells us to look after each other. And one of the best things a community can do as patriotism is to care for each other. 45% of evangelicals say they will not be vaccinated. That's 15% of the population. That's 45 million people in the United States. If they simply get vaccinated and wear masks, we could raise their herd immunity and do something about COVID. And after all, that's what we all want. We want to stop COVID. So I'm encouraging the schools to consider mandating masks. It's really it's not a political issue. It's about protecting our children. And they're the ones that are getting the COVID now, and that's what scares me. So thank you for your work and for listening. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. Got one more? What? Or what are you saying?
That's
That's 15?
Yes, that would be the 15-minute mark, which is what the council agreed to, so I will leave it to anybody else who wants to.
I guess Mike, go ahead.
Let's get that. Anyone else?
That's, yeah, my thing is, do we have anybody that wants to talk about something that has not been talked about? And that is,
I saw 3 hands go up. Just FYI.
what I'm saying about not talked about is the 2 topics of CRT and gay pride. That's what I'm saying about not being talked about.
Masks.
I still see 3 hands that went up.
Yeah, I can talk.
Is the council okay if we do the last 3 speakers?
I think that's fine with me.
Okay.
I think the consensus that I see is
We'll
not.
set those
We'll
3.
do the last 3 speakers that raised their hand. We'll start with you, sir, with the gray shirt.
May I remind us though that our rules
Who are the 3?
ask that people not single people out and reprimand them, single counsel people out, that we are to be, and that's not just because I was the butt of that. And I will also say, I have repeatedly spoken out publicly against violence of all kind from the left and the right. So anybody who misconstrues my position, let me make that perfectly clear. I condemn violence.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Hi, my name is Ron Gerardo, Goshen, District 1. And this isn't really an issue I think the council themselves can address, but sometimes you just want to talk to anyone who will listen. Early this year, January 5th, I had a newborn here at Goshen City Hospital. And while you expect the birthing of a newborn child to be expensive, I didn't expect it to be over $16,000. And to describe the birth of my child, it was less than standard. My wife did not even have an epidural. We were at the hospital for about 2 to 3 hours from arrival to the birth of our child. She got stitches, and that was it. And we were supposed to stay 3 nights as the standard stay, and we only stayed 2 nights. And again, price tag for this was, they billed $16,000. Of course, insurance covered some of this, but I think at the end of the day, I still had to pay $9,000 worth of medical bills from this. And like I said, while you expect it to be expensive, I feel like this is outrageous. And I understand you guys probably don't have a whole lot of power to do something about it, but I would appreciate to put that information out there, and whatever you can do about it, even just spread the word, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations on the birth of your daughter, son?
Daughter.
Daughter.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And, yeah, sorry, red shirt, gray shirt, yeah.
It's G-I-R. A-R-D-O-T.
Jenna Crawford, Goshen, Indiana. I would like to read some quotes from primary and secondary sources for the people in our community that think our country wasn't founded on Christian beliefs and that we've never been a Christian nation. This myth has been asserted several times by people who have spoken here or written to the Goshen News editor and I think it needs to be refuted. I would also like to challenge the Goshen News to actually publish my statements and the facts that bring truth and clarity rather than purposely ignoring them because of your own bias. Now I will quote from Did America Have a Christian Founding by Professor Mark David Hall. I would like to share these. The great Chief Justice John Marshall wrote, for example, that in America, Christianity and religion are identified. It would be strange indeed if such a people, our institutions, did not presuppose Christianity. Shortly before America declared independence, John Adams wrote that religion and morality alone can establish the principles upon which freedom can securely stand. He regularly reiterated this conviction, noting in 1811, for instance, that religion and virtue are the only foundations not only of republicanism and of all free government, but of social felicity under all governments and in all combinations of human society. Referring specifically to the U.S. Constitution, he wrote in 1798 that our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. Jedediah Morse, a Congregationalist minister, figurative father of American geography and actual father of Samuel F.B. Morse, the inventor of the telegraph, preached an election sermon in 1799 where he observed that it is to the kindly influence of Christianity we owe that degree of civil freedom and political and social happiness which mankind now enjoys. All efforts to destroy the foundation of our holy religion ultimately tend to the subversion also of our political freedom and happiness. Whenever the pillars of Christianity shall be overthrown, our present republican form of government and all the blessings which flow from them must fall with them. Charles Carroll of Maryland, a Roman Catholic signer of the Declaration of Independence, remarked that without morals a republic cannot subsist any length of time. They, therefore, who are decrying the Christian religion, whose morality is so sublime and pure, are undermining the solid foundation of morals, the best security for the duration of a free government. There's plenty more quotes in this wonderful book that I could share, but yeah, there's not much time, so thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, did I get in 3?
Goshen. There is a house 2 houses down from Plymouth on Main Street across from the church. It's a David Heiser residence. The grass is probably this tall. There is a house on Jackson, a little small empty house. It's been empty for a long time. This last storm, huge tree fell down, blocked the alley for a while. It's still there. David Heiser house. So it just makes me kind of want to ask you all, why does David Heiser get by with the things he gets by with? Why is he allowed to, any other lawn would be like, get a little notice. Hi, you need to mow this thing because we have standards. Probably, 50 years this man has gotten by with violation after violation after violation after violation, unsafe housing for people. So I'm curious what your policy is on that. And I'm still curious about what the vetting process is for big businesses who want to take agricultural land and turn them into RV sprawl. Those are my 2 main things. You can respond to me now, or you can email me, call me.
Well, I'll respond to actually both of those quickly. The email, I appreciate your reminder email for me, but we are working on typing something up that we can send back to you. It's just taking longer than I thought it would, so I apologize for that. And that's on the kind of how we look at who's getting these investments and not. And then on the other piece, I can tell you both those properties I've turned in, and we do like we do everybody else. We send out our notices, notice people of ordinance violations, whether it's tall grass or whatever it is. We have people in the community that work with us, people that don't. And so when you have people that don't, we end up in this process of issuing orders and then having to give So, that's, David Heiser happens to be one of those people that plays that game with us a lot in the community. So I realize his properties often have tall grass. We are on him, but it's the process we work through.
May I ask a follow-up question?
Yes.
And kind of along these same lines, I don't know what the policy is. There was a time, and I think it was prior to your administration, where the city would mow certain properties and send a bill. Is that